Hello, everyone, and I'll continue with this part of introducing the absolute. And last time, I remember I suddenly forgot one category that is in uh, Chinese called zai, and that's actually it's a potentiality because I regard the whole process of becoming a being or anything like a quality, if you can call it, it must be a quality. So I was thinking at that time only about the level of existence. So I mentioned the being, I mentioned the everything from thoughts and the determinate being, and I just missed this part of potentiality. That's called Zai, by the way. So there are five. Let me repeat. It's absolute. That's background for everything, and Zai, and Zai. That is the thoughts, all the thoughts, whatever it is, and determinate being, and the being itself. So five categories, and just remember this put to mention it for the last time. Okay, today I'm going to give you three proofs for the absolute. In other words, why do you say that the absolute exists? Oh, anybody uh, who, everybody who believes it exists and nobody doubts about it. So I want to say something to give some proof on this. But first, before I start, I must let you know basically the absolute is unprovable. You cannot even speak of it. That's basically what it is. But the problem, on the other hand, if it's unprovable and unspeakable, it's not logical. How could you find it? How did you, excuse me, how did you get it? That's basically the question. Okay, so here is what I discovered. Basically, it's through a new epistemology or a new way of thinking that is called Wu Xing, something like insight, a very oriental insight. It's not through language. That's a sort of explaining how the process of creativity or discovery is made. Like I mentioned, the Archimedes, when he discovered the gold ratio in the alloy, he shouted "Eureka!" That's the occasion when this happens. All right. But I also wanted to give you some reasoning for discovering this absolute and to sort of prove that it does exist. Well, the word existing is a misleading word, but you know what I mean, and I don't think there's any other way to say it. Fundamentally, or use the inappropriate word ontology, to deny the absolute is to deny the foundation of our existence. That is, the questioner, of the existence of the questioner. So that's a problem. Like, let's say you cannot prove that your mother gave birth to you, but you know it's true, right? And but you cannot prove it. Do you believe it? Well, mostly probably you do believe it because you go by reasoning. You must have been born by your mother, or gave you birth by your mother, right? Okay, so that's the basic reasoning. Okay, I give you three kinds of reasoning for the absolute two. And the first one is the one I mentioned in the past. It's called a thinking paradox. All right? I don't want to iterate how I did it. You can look back other videos to find out how I did this. The key point here, without thinking that your thought can freely, absolutely, without restriction, to choose any one. That is the key to solve this problem. Think about this. If anything that is free, absolute free, it must be able to choose anyone. If it cannot choose anyone, it cannot be called absolute, right? But if it cannot choose anyone, it cannot solve my problem of paying attention to which side of our consciousness or thinking. That's two sides, right? So that's a problem. So it must be able to choose one, and the only one that it can solve this problem of picking side, right? Okay, so from that point, you can appreciate the importance of paradox. As I said in the past, paradox is always a way to move forward because it poses a serious question. When you overcome it, you really made a big stride forward. Okay. Okay. The second thing is the paradox is related most to thinking, but it has the other side is consciousness, right? So consciousness is basically the everything too. When you grab something in your consciousness, you are aware of the whole unity. That's a function of consciousness. And when you look, another way to look at it is when you look at the structure, the biological structure of your brain. It has two parts: left half, the right half, right? Each hemisphere has its functions. You can see the creativity on the one hand, and the other hand is the logic. Basically, words, interpretation, syntax. On the right side is arts, music, things like that. So to grab something in its entirety, or in Schopenhauer's words, it's called idea. The essence of arts is to guide idea. That represents the beauty, the creativity, and all the best things in your thinking or in your creation. That's an idea. Okay, so from the structure, from each hemisphere evenly distributed in your brain, you can see you cannot escape this conclusion. If thinking is free to think about anything, like an engine, it can go anywhere it wants to. The other side is like a mirror. It must reflect the whole picture. It's everything too, right? The whole picture includes everything. So two sides must have the same function. That is absolute. All right? Okay. That's the reasoning. So, okay. I regard the two sides of the brain, that is logic and consciousness, as absolute, but I call them the small absolutes. And there's from this point you can deduct, and if you have the two hemisphere, two sides of absolutes in your brain, because it's localized, because it becomes one in your head. You have one head, it becomes one. Alright? Then it must be divided into two. Right? Anything, if it merges as one, must be equally divided into two. That's a sort of a principle here. Alright? Okay, if you have it, you can think other people have it too, right? Because they are human beings too, as you are. So, if everybody has it, it must be a general feature, or something can be abstracted from everybody's brain. So that's the absolute at the big background of this. It's easily to deduct it from here, right? And it's sort of like in the 11th century, the Saint of Anselm of Canterbury mentioned the ontological proof of God, but without the reality part, right? Because when you say reality, it becomes a little bit far-fetched. His contemporary criticized him using Ireland as example. Later on, he was criticized also by Thomas Aquinas, right? Okay, but leave that part aside. Just think in your thinking, in your brain. You can think the perfect, the uppermost, the top of everything, right? You are sure in your mind you have this idea of perfection, the uppermost, the super thing in your mind, right? Okay, according to Parmenides, thoughts are the world. So you can think of that way. Actually, there's more deep than this, because anything, if you say in reality, I gave you a function of f brackets s comma t, the other bracket, s stands for space and t stands for time. So it becomes, the function becomes a fact. Okay, so that's a world. But the background is the absolute. That's a foundation of everything, right? Or you can think from the cosmology, the contemporary cosmology, right? The point before the Big Bang happens, how it formed is from potentiality to actuality. That's the point. It caused the Big Bang. All right. Behind that point, the physical point, it's the absolute. In other words, when we say absolute, it doesn't have the concept of time or space. Actually, no any dimension at all. That's absolute. Since the point of Big Bang, everything started. We can think that way. All right. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying, and let me stop here, and next time we'll continue with other lectures about this series. All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.